His face was, in fact, cold as stone. "She is dead." 3 stark words, unfathomable, and yet true all at once. Unlike the lashes on her back from so long ago, however, Pearl's death was a wound that would never heal. Johanna flinched. "Yes." "This picture is precious to you, then?" Drummond said, still holding it in his hands. "It is the only picture I have of her," she admitted, before she could think better of the confession. But her mind and heart were one, desperate for him to give it back to her. "Please, Drummond, do not—" He dropped it onto the floor. The crack of the glass was like a dagger piercing her heart. She cried out and rushed forward, dropping to her knees, uncaring about the glass, whether she cut her fingers. She was single-minded in her need to rescue that photograph, to keep it from further damage or harm. That one last memory of Pearl, the one that could never fade. Her brother's booted foot pressed down on the frame, trapping it beneath his weight. More glass crunched beneath his soul. "No!" she cried out, the denial torn from the depths of her. "Remove your foot! This is the only image of her I have. My sole remembrance." "At last the mask slips," he drawled from above her, his tone unconcerned. "You are not as immovable as you pretend. If only everyone could see the famed Rose of New York thus, on her knees, crying over some broken glass in an old photograph." "I am not crying," she denied, but her eyes were welling, and desperation was setting in. She wanted his foot removed before he did further damage. She wanted Pearl's picture back. "Take your boot off, Drummond." He chuckled, but there was no levity in his tone. "Yes, you are, sister. And no, I will not. Not until you give me something in return." Everything inside her froze. "What do you want?" She would give him anything in that moment, in return for the photograph trapped beneath his merciless boot. She would accept lashes, torture, any punishment for the way she had fled the McKenna family. "Good of you to ask, sister dearest." Though his tone was cheerful, she had no doubt the intent behind his words was decidedly the opposite. "What is it?" she demanded, her patience snapping. How had she imagined she was free of this? She had feared, as her name had become well known, and as her likeness was spread so prolifically, that she would be recognized. But the years had gone on, and no one had ever come for her. The silence had lulled her into the foolish belief she was finally free. But she was a McKenna, was she not? She would never truly be free of the shackles of misery which had been hers since birth. "How do you think your adoring public would see you if they knew you were a liar?" he asked, giving the picture another grind beneath his boot. "Do you think they would be understanding of the manner in which you have deceived them? Pretending to be a French émigré, changing your name, changing everything about yourself. Why, it is almost as if you have been playing a role, Jojo." Most actresses took stage names. It was commonplace. Not all, however, assumed nationalities as she had. Most did not affect an accent. But she had been young at the time she had begun her career. So very young, and she had not contemplated the ramifications of her decisions. She tilted her head back to study her brother, aware her hands were in shards of broken glass, as were her knees. She did not care. "Are you threatening me, Drummond?" "Threatening is such a painful word," he said slowly. "Hardly apt in this instance. I am your brother, delighted to have found you after so many unnecessary years spent apart. Naturally, I require your assistance in a few small matters. If you cannot aid me, I will, regretfully, be compelled to share your real name and true heritage with the public who adores you." Her patience was gone. Her hands were on his boot now, cut and bloodied from the broken glass she had found her way through.